Sensei people, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing To Kill a Kingdom. Okay, the book is by Alexander Christo. It follows two main characters. One a siren slash Princess Killer, Princess Bane, and then you got another character who's a prince, a pirate, and a siren killer. What happens when these two cross paths? Shit happens. Oh my god, I can't believe I said that. Alright, so like I said, the story is about two characters. One the siren girl is Lyra. She is the princess of the sea, and her mom is the sea queen of the entire oceans, of the mermaids and the sirens and the merman. So, and actually, no, she's a sea witch. Think of her like Urs. Think of like if Little Mermaid was kidnapped and raised by Ursula. That's how I can sum up her life. She's a very she grew up. It's a very brutal story, and on the other side, you got this other character who's a prince, also of a nobility, and he is the heir of the kingdom where they celebrate gold, and their whole culture is about gold and everything. So he's the golden prince who bleeds gold, but he is a pirate who hunts sirens. I picked up this book about, I think it was around December when I was given a lot of money to buy books for Christmas. So thank you, Mom and Dad. I seen this book about a couple years ago. I think it was a couple years ago. I seen it on a Goodreads where a person I follow a lot. She's the type of person who doesn't give out 5 stars or 4 stars, 4 stars too late, not too lightly. And she recommended this book to read to a bunch of her followers. So I ended up picking up eventually some year later. And I'm so glad I picked it up because I really enjoyed this book and I really want a part two. But this is a standalone book. How the fuck does that YA fantasy is a standalone? It's just an amazing standalone too. It's just wow. I'm gonna start out with the real building. It's pretty like low world building, I guess, middle low, I guess. It's not that hard. It's kind of a soft world building. You get an origin of how the world, the structure to the whole world is. About like a thousand of years ago, there was a bunch of people who knew magic, and there was a war at some point, and against the sea goddess, and then after that they were split into 100 kingdoms, but the sea kingdom is not recognized as the real kingdom. They're kind of considered like beneath human beings because damn damn the whole siren society is based on, it's a brutality society. It's really brutal and it's very harsh and it's very dangerous. Our main character, Lyra, who is a siren, was raised by her mom and taught by her mom to murder princes or murder people, take their hearts, because with every heart they take for their birthday, they they grow stronger. And so yeah, yeah, there's a whole hierarchy too within the siren, the whole sea kingdom area. You got the sirens, and you got the mermans, and then you got the mermaids. I find that pretty interesting that there's a difference between sirens and mermaids. I always thought they were one and the same, but no. I think mermaids are more, in the book. It said they're more like, more fish like than sirens, who are more human like compared to them. So that distinction made it pretty clear from the get go. And in the human society structures, you get the 100 kingdoms, which are based on some story. I think it's how do you say, fairy tale storytelling, like where Ilian is, who is the prince of the Golden Kingdom. You can tell they're based on the story of Midas and the Gold King who touches gold, everything turns gold when he touches stuff. And there's this myth in their family where they bleed gold, which is not entirely true. And you got a kingdom where their emphasis on romance and love, and the queen there is has a curse because of it. And there's another kingdom in the north where it's cold and it's wintry, and yeah, and the people there have blue lips from it. So so that so that's the human side and that's the mermaid side. And I really enjoyed this world building. After reading Real with Time, I needed something very easy to like read and consume. And this was really fun and easy to consume. It's a tiny book too, but there's so much going on within the this tiny book that kept me reading up until like 3 o'clock in the morning, which I should be going to bed at night early if I wanted to be a teacher. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna start talking about the other characters, which is Alien and Lyra, our main protagonist. Like I said, Lyra grew up in the sea, and she's known as the Princess Bane because she's been murdering princes since she was 12 or 13, I believe. Before that, her mom used to like go out and hunt princes too at her age, at the same age as she is. So that was you can see where she gets her brutality from and her killer instincts from. And at one point, her mother actually does not want her to have any humanity in her, because at one point I think she let a boy live in the sea or something like that before the story started. And yeah, and she's and I really like how the book kind of touches on the fact that her mother abuses her too. Like that's also something that jumped out for me with her character. And she's mostly a spunky type of girl that you want to hang out with, who can like have biting remarks towards people. She's that type of girl, and she's also very calculating. She's also manipulating, and she's also very funny to read sometimes. And she's also just fun, strong character that you can read, and you can also just feel very sad for, even though you feel very like, I don't think you should be doing that, girl, type of thing. No, I really enjoyed her character. It's something different from when I was reading earlier before, because I'm so used to like having characters who are nice and stuff. But she's like straight up saying that I'm a killer. I'm a cold blooded killer. I don't care, type of thing. And then slowly throughout the book, she starts becoming like more, not softer, but she becomes more aware of what the hell she did, and she becomes more remorseful about it. And in the end, she tries to turn everything around. And her whole character arc really got me to think, really stood out to me. All right, so the second character I'm going to talk about is Ilian, our golden prince who doesn't want to be a prince or a king. He runs a pirate crew, full of like ex cons, former nobilities who've been like kicked out of their homes, people who had to fight throughout their whole life just to gain their freedom. He's a well-rounded guy, even though he can be so arrogant, and I just want to slap him sometimes for being arrogant, because I that's one that's one personality trait I can never get my mind around, why people are so arrogant, why they're arrogant at all. Um, but he's also a very good friend to the people around him. He's very trustful and he's very loyal to his crew. He values his crew above all else, but he knows that there's things you can't always save. And I think that kind of speaks on his nobility background. And like Lyra, he's also calculating and manipulative as her. And it's so interesting to see their love story like crash into. It's interesting to see them two crash into each other, and like seeing how they bounce things off each other. It's fun. And One thing I really liked about Ilian was the fact that he's a siren hunter. He's very remorseful of it compared to Lyra. He has that humanity to be like, oh shit, I killed a siren and I feel bad for it, and that's where I think Lyra begins. Lyra learns that from him. He does it not to save his kingdom and to other kingdoms, and that's where the story starts. It starts with Lyra hurting someone close to him, and he wants to get revenge, and she ends up being punished by her mom. I shouldn't be laughing. I should not be laughing. She gets punished by her mom, and she's turned into a human, and that's when the worlds crash. He rescues her in the water, and they both want the same thing, which is this this crystal, this eye of the sea goddess that I mentioned earlier. They're trying to go after it, but for different reasons. Lyra wants it just for herself to gain power, and Ilian wanted for revenge and to protect the rest of humanity. He's a very good guy like that, even though he can be very arrogant and an asshole sometimes. So now I'm going to be talking about the love story. The love story was very slow. It's like watching a grilled cheese becoming golden on a pan. And I know that's a bad analogy, but it's what I. It's a slow burn love story. Like in the beginning, you don't like. It's not insta lovey stuff. It's not insta lovey stuff. Um, God, I hate my nose. Um, it's not like I said. It's not lovey thing. In the beginning, there is an attraction there between each other. They notice that the other one's pretty, the other one's handsome, the other one's like, oh, they're cute, but it's not a real emotional one. Over time, they begin to start having feelings for each other, but before that they learn to trust each other and they start appreciating each other's personality traits and who they are and their convictions, and at the end that's when you finally see them come together. I shouldn't be saying that. Yeah, but it's really nice to see a slow burn romance compared to other romances I see in YA where it's just like insta lovey and just like it's not true. I mean, you can have a physical attraction to someone at the beginning. That's okay. But to know that, but within an hour you tell them you love them, but it's not kind of realistic. That's not really realistic for me. So that was fun. That was one thing I would, I liked. Okay, so the other characters. I'm going to be talking mainly about the Ilian's crew because the people in Lyra's life is not really shown that well. She has a cousin named Kalia. She shows up every once in a while in the book. So her character is not really fully developed, in my opinion. But compared to Ilian's crew, which is Madrid, his swishbucking, I think that's how you say it, swishbucking? Or no, screw it. I'm not going to say that. She is a gunslinger survivor. She's a badass survivor who went through a lot of shit in her life, but she came out the end with the freedom, and now she's a badass who has great aim. And there's Kai, which is his second in hand, alien second in hand, who was once a nobility guy, but he got disinherited, and now he's a cool dude from the get go, has aliens back no matter what, finds everybody who's a stranger to be he treats them in distress in the beginning, but eventually grows to like him. And you got Torek, which is his bodyguard, which is big loving dude. I feel like he's a big loving dude to me. He has very interesting comebacks to aliens whenever they're bickering or in the way or someone else is bickering. Madrid and Kai are in a relationship, although it's not really exclusive. Not people know about it on the crew, but It's just not out there in your face. It's very interesting to see this couple and Ilian and Lyra and the contrast around them beside them. Ilian and Lyra are more like these guys who love to flirt with each other through biting remarks and flirty arguments compared to Kai and Madrid, who are just like kind of the similar, but they like making fun of each other as a cute, flirty thing that they love to do with each other. It's a very interesting one to see one development and to see one in the middle of the relationship. So that was to see more, and they're both healthy relationships, which is very shocking to me. I don't know why that was shocking. I always expect in YA books, not all YA books, but I always expect an unhealthy relationship in a YA book. I don't know why, but I've seen numerous tropes back in the day. I think it was like in the 2014 era where we saw a bunch of like YA books coming out with insta love triangles and toxic relationships. And I really got to get my mind out of that, but I can't help it when I'm so shocked when there's a healthy relationship there. Yeah, this book is fun. Okay, so thank you for listening in for the book. I love this book. Pick it up. If you love a little mermaid retelling with brutality and biting flirtations between two people who hate each other, I love it. And as you can tell, I made my makeup up today to match the cover. Although you can't see my eyeshadow, but yes, I almost did good. Okay, Egg say thank you. Thank you for everything and have a great day, people.